Hello.
Oh, did anyone hear me? No one heard me. Wow. So, did you hear me, Reese?
No, I thought I was just backstage though.
Oh, okay. So, listen, she's already on. I said a whole bunch of things, but my mic was muted. So, I'm going to go ahead and just retract. She's already on the screen, but nevertheless, I want to say thank you for joining us and let's spark some conversation, right? Tonight, we are in for a treat. I'm bringing you into my friendship, my relationship with my sister friend of almost 30 years, right? We have been through so much. You saw her bio that was there. It was very short. She has gone through a lot of things, have had a lot of accomplishments. But one thing I would like to say, she accomplished being a friend with me because I'm not deal with all the time, right? You see the smiles, everything is great, but it's good to have friends that is there for you to see you through every area of your life. So again, we are in Let's Spark Some Conversation. We are in episode 4, and we're going to have a heart-to-heart conversation on tonight. Now, I hope that you have been with us through the previous episodes. And when we have these conversations, we are framing them around our 5-point framework, and that is transparency, to be open. We're not trying to hide anything. We want to share, right? Whether it's through spirituality, through our experiences and different encounters that we have in life, but also to provide hope to those who may be hopeless in certain situations, and bringing restoration in areas that you may be broken, but then to provide that overcomer's mindset, right? When you engage in conversations or you hear a conversation that is being in your presence, prayerfully, your perspective can change. And overall, having wellness, a holistic type of a life where all things are working together. So, Dr. Sherriese Anderson.
Yes.
Is it all right if I call you Sherriese tonight?
Well, that's sure. Absolutely.
So I want to, anybody who's out there watching us, please in the comments, just let us know where you are watching from. You could be, and not necessarily saying from your bedroom or the car. That would be if you're in Toms River, Lakewood, hey, Plainfield, Cliffwood, wherever you are, just share with us in the chat. Now, in this conversation, if there's any questions or comments that you want to put, we encourage them. All right. So go ahead and utilize, that chat right now. So Reese, would you say, I think I'm going to call you Reese instead of.
Okay, that'll work because I'm used to that.
Yeah. This is really a laid back type conversation. So Reese, how would you say our friendship developed over the years? Was it hard? Was it difficult?
You were a little hard-headed sometimes, but no. It was a certain genuineness. So it was difficulty for me because, I was new to Lakewood coming from New York, and, we did meet on the job. And so I was getting to know everybody, but, you presented yourself friendly and, there was a genuineness about that. So I wasn't always very trusting of people. So with that genuineness, you prove yourself. And so, it started that friendship and we just continue to grow. And that doesn't mean it was always easy. There were a lot of, hard, difficult conversations, but I also knew like the type of people I needed in my life. I didn't need friends that were just going to agree with me in every situation or, tell me what I wanted to hear, because that doesn't strengthen a relationship. So one thing I have to say, I knew if I came to you, you were going to tell me like, okay, like you need to knock that off, or now, and that's a good thing because that's how you grow. You have to have those difficult conversations, or you need people in your life that are going to speak the truth in honesty and in love. So, that's what I would say, it just continued to build and continue to grow. And that's both ways, because I know, at the same time, I'm not the type of person that's going to sugarcoat stuff, because if it's wrong, it's wrong, and it won't be as blunt as that, but, it's always going to have to get back to, having to straighten things out, having to reconcile things and, move on from there.
Yeah, well, there were moments that it was blunt, that sometimes I think in all seriousness,
yes,
because there are times that it has to be blunt. Think about if there is a fire that is happening and it's an immediate, like, jump, go, run. And there was those times where, yeah, you may have been blunt, but then you will come, you understand what I'm saying, and speak about it. And I think that in friendships, there has to be that balance, that you have to have one with another. You talked about not being as trusting. Believe it or not, I too, at that time where we met back in, I think like 95, 1995, something like that. And I wasn't as trusting either, because there were, just exiting high school. If anybody remember their high school years, you had that cattiness, right? The girl drama, you had those different things. And maybe people didn't surround themselves with that at all.
Right.
But I wasn't, always what I am now. And we have to realize that in life, that where we are now is not always where we started.
Right.
That makes sense. And so I believe we were introduced by way of your cousin.
Yes.
Right. And she always was an upstanding type of an individual. You know how they say upstanding citizen? She would have been the upstanding citizen. So I really respected her on the job. So when she said, hey, I have my cousin, she just moved into town, because I was already working at the job before you got there. So when she said, I think you guys were really hit it off. And I said, okay, well, cool. I don't know what our first outing may have been, but I just realized that we just started communicating, right? And we were conversing. Then it turned into, going to the club, right? Hanging out.
Right.
This is for mature audiences only. This is for mature. Somebody put that in the chat for me, please.
Warning.
This is for mature audiences only, because I have to say this: when our relationship was birthed, I was not a believer.
Neither was I.
I was not a born again Christian. Right?
Right.
I was not. And so once I realized that I was a hard head, I was a hot head. We have our stories, and maybe they'll come out tonight, but we will conceal any names involved. But I wasn't always, the person that I am now. But I believe that it's important to have friends that are a part of your life that can help guide you, right? Guide you to where it is that you need to be, whether, and I have to put it like this, whether in Christ or not.
Yes.
Because friendships don't necessarily start when you are in the things of God.
Correct. Because I wasn't a believer either. And I actually was not raised in church. I would go here and there. So, that was another, transformation within the friendship. So, and I even remember one time you saying like, well, once you had given your life to Christ and you knew there were certain things we were involved in and we were doing, and you were no longer going to be doing those. Listen, this is where I am at this point. This is what I need for me, and I understood that and I respected that.
Yeah. And thank you for that. But, I think about, again, the trust issue. Trust has to be built. This was one of the questions that we had as a poll. And it said, in friendship, what are some things a person has to do in order to gain trust? Because you don't just start off trusting.
No.
I like to say your trust has to be earned. Do anybody agree with that? That someone has to earn your trust? But then again, some people say, I start off trusting, right? So I want you to listen to both sides. Some say, I start off trusting everybody until you give me a reason not to trust you. And then some say, you have to earn my trust in order for you to even be in my space. What do you think about that, Reese? That you give everybody trust, and they have to give you a reason not to trust you, or they have to build up in order to get your trust?
I've been on both sides of that, because before I was mature, again, like I grew up in the Bronx, so it was
boogie down,
BX. It was it was hardcore, so you were not trusting of everyone. And I think that's just the way we were raised. You had to have a guard up. You had to have that wall up because that meant safety in a lot of situations. So when I came to New Jersey, and even to the job, I didn't know anyone but my cousin. So that trust had to be built. So I was friendly because that's just the type of person I am. But I still had that side eye, I'm watching conversation, I'm watching behavior because that's just what I do. And then the trust was built. Now, I guess it depends because on this side, being, spiritual, there's a level of wisdom you also have to use. So I'm just not naively, but I'm going to give people that opportunity. Absolutely. You have to give people the opportunity, being a leader in the house. Absolutely. You have to give people the opportunity because people have to grow just like at some point you had to grow and develop. So, being a leader, you have to allow them that grace, if you will. Absolutely. So I have been on both sides of that.
Yeah, so have I. And I love how you said, giving people that grace. Sometimes based off of where we are in our lives can be off of our own experiences, like you just stated, how you were raised, certain behaviors or certain ideas or ideologies that we have can be that which was instilled into us.
Right.
You don't just trust everybody. You got to do it this way or that way. This person has to do. So a lot of times we are trusting based off of what has been taught to us or not trusting based off of what has been taught to us.
Right.
And if we go back and look into whether it be our parents or someone else who have taught to us, we can realize why are they saying what they're saying? Because it's something that they themselves experience. So the cycle just continues on. When you have your children, then you start relaying that. But when we come, like you stated, into Christ, that level of grace now is laid out there to understand, okay, I have wisdom in this. Right. I have discernment also in this as to who to befriend. Now we can be friendly, but who are we accepting really into our lives?
Right. And with any relationship, period, for the relationship to be deeper, there has to be a level of vulnerability. And I think, that can sometimes play a huge issue too, because nobody wants to be vulnerable, put themselves out there and then get played out. That's true. But, as that's a stepping stone in the relationship. They're going to be, especially if you've had friendships in the past and maybe you've shared things in secret and those confident things got back to you and you've only turned a certain person, that's very difficult to overcome. But at some point, if you want to sustain lasting relationships, you're going to have to, find ways to get over that. Because if not, you're going to limit yourself and you're going to stay stuck at a certain point and you're not going to be able to move past that. And then you'll be missing out on the fullness of the relationships you can have.
That's true. Absolutely. I like to say, for where I was even entering in, because we're going to build up to where our relationship is now, because I think that relationships, although they evolve, they look different than they started, right? So where you just talked about that level of trust or the loyalty, right? That integrity, who you are as an individual, that if I am being vulnerable with you and very transparent about certain things within my life that I may not have shared with anybody else, right? How do I know that what I am sharing is going to stay with you? Now, it doesn't mean that it's a secret, right? Because you know how people say, oh, well, don't tell it if you don't want it to be shared. No, that's something totally different, right? If I'm opening up with something in my life, no one else should hear about it.
Right. That's true.
Right. And if you feel like you need to share with someone else, maybe because you feel like, I need some assistance in this, my name don't need to be put on it.
Right. Right.
Right.
Like, girl, you know what Annette told me?
Wait. Here's a good one. Let me tell you what Sherriese is going, but you know what? Just keep her in prayer. I'm just telling you so you can pray for her. Right. But we have to understand that I am trusting you. At the end of the day, really, I'm trusting you with my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trusting you with my emotions. I'm trusting you with my vulnerability. I'm trusting you with my weaknesses. Right? Because that friend now is brought into areas of your life. They feel like, you know what, I can be my true self.
Right.
There's no pretense. I'm not, putting on the mask. This is where I wash off my makeup. This is where, I have on my bonnet. If you understand what I'm saying. This is not where everybody may see at a particular moment until you get to that place of maturity to maybe be able to share it for yourself. But you're getting to a place of being built.
And see, for me, I always looked at it as be the type of friend that you would want. So for me, if I didn't want people telling my stuff that I told them, then I'm not going to tell what they told me in confidence. So that was just me. So loyalty was very important to me. Integrity was very important to me. Trust was very important to me. So I wanted to be that friend that, I wanted in my life. So that was the measure for me.
Okay. A couple of people responded to that question. And I like one. I like them all, but I'm going to pick one at this moment. It said, be consistent, reciprocate kindness, love, and generosity shown, and be genuinely supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Be consistent. I thought that was so key right there, that you're not fluctuating. You're not one way today and another way tomorrow. Are we cool? Are we not cool? Like, where are we? Because I believe when you look at friendship, let's just go right here for a second. When you are in a friendship, in some form of a relationship, if I'm like, oh yeah, Reese, that's my bestie. And you like,
like, not today.
nothing, right? Oh, I thought we were besties. So you have to have some type of relatability also within your relationship. What are we? Because I can be that consistent friend, but if you're that fly by night or vice versa, it's like, where is our friendship?
Yes. You have to understand, you have to realize where you stand in their life and where they stand in your life, because that may not be the same. You may not feel the same that they feel. Absolutely. And vice versa. And that's just, to be honest. So even people fluctuating, you have to realize if you're saying that is your bestie and that's your best friend, then that fluctuation, that's who they are at that point. So if you're going to be supportive, you're going to have to support them even in that fluctuation, because you know what it is. Absolutely. And maybe support them to deal with, whatever is going on that's causing them to fluctuate, because we don't know. Everybody has different experiences. And like you said, everybody has come through different things, traumas, and also, people just don't behave in a certain way just because they can. Something has transpired. There has been some experience that they have had that has now shaped who they are.
Yep.
So, if you say that is your friend, and, so be that friend to that person.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this question. Do you think that the view of friendship has changed over the years?
I think it has. And I just say that just listening to stories that I hear nowadays. And, I often think back to, all right, I'm older now, but so some of those same values that I have, when I listen to stories from, my daughter who's a teenager and like her friends, or, I listen to other young people because I'm an educator, and I listen to these stories and I'm amazed, because when I went out with my friends, we all came together, we all left together. One had to go to the bathroom, we all went to the bathroom. And, absolutely. So people were getting left, people were getting killed, people were getting kidnapped. Devious things are being done behind their back. They're setting people up to kill. Like, I don't understand that, because, how do you call yourself? We, as a friend, we protected each other. Yeah. We looked out for each other. So if we went to the club and someone was drinking a little bit more, even if we didn't come together and we were friends, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that, okay, we have to make sure this person is not driving, even if we had to take that person home ourselves and they didn't come with us because that was a friend and that's what you do. So, there was a level of protection. There was a level of covering. And I don't know if this generation or, nowadays it's the same. And I think social media may have a lot to play into that.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think people, they value it. It's like the values are off. They're validated by social media, how many likes, what they can do. And in some instances, even like a lot of the teenagers, they think people are their friends and they're still growing and they don't really, all the time realize what it is to be a friend. And, they're telling their business, they're putting stuff out there and it's all over social media and then they're crushed. And then how do you rebound from that? If you're a teenager and this is, you say this is the friend. So now that has caused some damage, but, I don't know.
Yeah, and you just hit on that, and that's, I want to talk about that parenting portion because, with our youth now, friendships are who's giving you a thumbs up. Friendship is who's hearting you. Friendship is who's, posting certain things about you. If they don't do certain things, it's kind of like you're crushed.
Right.
So their definition of friendship is not actually what friendship really is. Someone says, no, this generation doesn't understand. They share too much in the home. This generation don't understand what friendships are, as to, believe it or not, we have cyberbullying that is out there, even bullying within the school. Sometimes, we have our children that will do just anything to gain a friend.
Right.
Where you'll say that person is not your true friend. Right.
Now you understand it when your mom said, when your parents would tell you, like, you don't have no friends. Or
you don't have no friends.
Which means your friends. Like you can understand that now. Now you're a parent. I understand that. And even, as my kids speak of their friends and I'm listening to certain conversations, like immediately I'll pick up on a word and what does that mean? And, they may not necessarily want to hear it, but then when it comes back around, then you can unpack, like, listen, well, this is what I saw, this is what I heard, So a lot of times I'm not surprised, or I'll warn them, like, be careful, you may not want to. And then when it comes out, it is a good teachable moment, teachable learn experience. Because sometimes with teenagers, you can't tell them about their friends. You just have to be there to guide and inject when you can. But then on the other side of it, you have to be there to console and support them. And then you're able to teach.
Absolutely. And being able to be transparent also with your own self.
Yes.
I like to say, because again, I remember my adolescent years. I'm not too far removed from that. And so you got me by 2 years, baby. Upward, okay? How much scrolling do you do?
Yeah, I feel like I'm on Price is Right, baby. I feel like I'm spinning the wheel.
I know you be scrolling. No, I'm just messing with you. So it's just like, don't forget where you came from, because that's when we are the most effective, even when it comes to teaching our children or teaching this generation. Because if your children also just look at you as this parent talking from the parental side, as opposed to, I've been there, let me tell you about this experience, and there are moments and times that I've talked to all of my kids, even down to the 7-year-old, from the place to where they are and are able to understand it. You know how they say, talk to me like a second grader. I have a second grader in the house and I'll talk to him like a second grader,
right?
So that they will understand where they are, because guess what? We're raising them in this generation that we don't necessarily want to say, oh, this generation. Well, we're raising them.
Right. No, you're right.
Right. So if we say, oh, this generation, somebody's out there raising them. What are we teaching them? How are we guiding them? How are we instructing them? So we want to be able to be truthful and transparent to a certain degree.
Sure.
Of course, you're not going to, go out to a level that they're not able to understand, but something that they can walk away with to say, hey, I get it.
Sure. And understand too, we also can't be in denial, because the youth today are far more advanced, even as advanced as we were, because of the things they are exposed to and the influences they have.
Yeah,
So you have to make sure that you have to be the one imparting into them and speaking into them so that they know the difference, that when they come in to, what others from the outside are saying, that they already have a foundation set from home.
absolutely.
So that's very important for me with my teenage daughter, to let her know, okay, what her father and I have experienced. We have conversations all the time, and we listen to what's going on in the schools, and then we converse, we talk about it. What do you think about that? What do and honestly, there are some adults too that need that same conversation, because
Hello, somebody just wrote that right here. Some adults too.
because they have not been fortunate enough to have that guidance. So they're still stuck in a certain place when it comes to certain things.
That is so true. That I was just about to say, we could be in this adult body, but our mindset has not necessarily caught up. We're still with this.
And even in the church, so okay, now as leaders in the church, that doesn't mean everything from years ago, last week, that you've done that wasn't when you weren't walking in line, that it's a secret, because in this walk you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, and it's not about that, it's about how you recover. So I think sometimes as leaders, you have the kids that are in church, your kids, and they're looking, and you preaching a good word, but then at home can't nobody stand you, don't nobody want to be around you. And the kids know, because the
Girl.
kids see it. So you can't be afraid, even now, as a leader, as the bishop, as the apostle, as the the preacher, to talk and explain where you've come from, when they're ready, because everything can't be such a secret. And that is twofold too, because it's going to show them that, okay, if I fall, you know what I'm saying, it's not like I'm going to be thrown by the wayside. There is going to be a level of grace for me, or that it's a part of this walk.
And I like to say, we parents know, and you can agree or not, maybe put your hand up, say yes, whatever. But your kids, sometimes they display some things, and you be like, man, I used to do the same. Oh man. And then all you just see in yourself. But there are times I will share with my kids, I see where that's coming from. I recognize that, because we never want to make our kids believe, because they see us now, right? As believers, they see us living for God. They see us, but then there are times, like you just said, Reese, where they're looking like, what? You see those memes out there, right? I just saw something and I was cracking up. It was like how your mother, looking at you and she clapping. Oh, bless the Lord. And they're like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. You sitting like this and you looking
right
back at me, in this type of way. But I said to my kids, and this is my transparency, I'm like, man, my daughter, she got a lot of mouth, man. I'm like, please, I got one girl. I bless God. Thank you, Lord. I'm like, what am I going to do? But I said, I had a whole lot of mouth too. I had a whole lot of mouth, and nobody could tell me anything at a particular time in my life. I was an adult at this time. Was I an adult?
Yeah,
we were working on the job. This is where I talked about mature audiences only. So I was working on this job.
I got fired a couple of times.
And yeah, I could have got fired a couple of times, but I wasn't thinking about that. And this is my boss now, two of them. Yeah, it was two of them, different occasions too. So I'm like, okay. One of them asked me to do something. I did. I think I did well. Right, Reese?
I did well. You did well.
And so I wrote it out because everyone liked my handwriting. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and write this up. It was for a Cuban sandwich. Was it Cuban?
It was for a Cuban sandwich.
It was for a Cuban sandwich. And so I write out ham. I didn't put domestic ham and cooked ham. I just put, ham. And the cook comes out and says, who wrote this, through the sign? I start going off, saying all types of cuss words. I told the man he had a big head. I was like, what you gonna do? Now, mind you, this is my place of employment. Hothead, my supervisor. And I went on and on. Everybody coming calming me down. So I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. Another instant. I'm just letting y'all know. I hope y'all can handle it. And don't look at me wrong when I do my I declares, okay? God has blessed me. Me. So now another moment, I said, okay. I had another one of my supervisors. I think she may have said something. And they had to hold, literally, you know how people say, hold me back. Hold me back. I don't think anybody was y'all holding me back, Ree?
Well, we couldn't hold you back.
So I'm like deep diving.
Yeah.
I'm all through and I'm just running off at the mouth. I think this is the highlight.
Yeah.
With the ice.
But understanding now from years back then, you know, there were triggers.
You talk about
there were unresolved triggers. So as much as you tried to compose yourself, you know, you could not.
Absolutely.
There were unresolved issues. And I think, you know, we have to understand that too. Dealing in relationships, with friendships, with partners, there are triggers and you may not be aware of the triggers. And, you know, that's something I had to learn too, that it wasn't personal. And that is a growing process, you know, of all the education, all the knowledge, my counseling background. You know, when you're in these relationships, you know, sometimes you have to remove yourself out of it to get to the heart of what it is. You know, and that's where the spirit comes in, because sometimes you're going to have to lay down your right to be right to make amends with the relationship. The word says, you know, that we all have been given the ministry of reconciliation.
Absolutely.
To restore relationships and make things come back together as if nothing happened. A lot of time, the only thing standing in the way of that is ourselves.
Absolutely. And I like to say for myself, and don't worry, I wasn't preaching the gospel at this time, you know, going after
no, we were young.
Not to say I haven't cussed being saved. But during this time, and you talked about those different triggers. And I know growing up and the different things that I've experienced in my life, I've never, and you know this, Reese, I never liked being called stupid. I never liked being called dumb. I never liked, you know, like how they say my intelligence being insulted, or someone telling me that I can't do something that I know that I was able to do. And so when anything like that was touched upon and the person may not have meant it in a certain way, boom, it was close to it.
You're right.
So I was like, what? It was almost, it was like somebody said, all right, Peter. It was kind of like that. You ever watch I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker? Grams. So it was like, what? Are you going to challenge me? I have to tell y'all about this highlight, because this is the highlight story with the ice. Sherriese, Reese.
We have stories for days and we still laugh about them because they were just foolish, really. And we were young. We should have got fired so many times.
You could tell that story if you like, because I think you tell it a little funnier than I do. So your girl was not the best, okay? I thank God for saving me.
So we worked in a cafeteria in a hospital. And we were on the same shift, and we were great workers. I think that's what really saved our jobs.
Employee of the month and everything.
We were great. We were like supervisors when the supervisors were out, so we were good. We worked, and so we would often have, you know, the higher up, the executive, CEO, they would come and complain, but they wouldn't say anything to us. They would go right to the back and go to our boss. So this particular, it was like, you know, it was a salad bar. It was either lunch or dinner. And they went and complained that, you know, it wasn't enough ice around the salad. So we were female and we had to get these big buckets to fill the ice up. So when they told on us, Annette was like, okay, you want ice? You want ice? I'm gonna get ice. So she fills the thing up. I mean, it was ice everywhere. Typically you would have like one bucket. I think she had like 3 buckets. And so it's ice falling all over. Like the pans of salads were like, they couldn't even be still. The ice wouldn't even melt at the end of the night. It was so, and I was just like, oh my God, we're going to get fired.
So think about the Olive Garden, or those of you who remember Sizzlers back in the day with their salad bar. And yeah, good old KMC days. And so the ice, I said, okay, you want ice? Don't worry, you're going to have enough ice. And so again, you're telling me I can't do something. So those things were pressing certain buttons, like, Sherriese was saying. So it's good to identify those triggers within yourself. Now, mind you, I didn't overcome that in that moment or even in that season. It came some years later. And I have to check myself even now. I'm not flying off the handle, like I used to, by no means. I don't get to that point in my life because I've realized that, wait a minute, this doesn't even equate with that. I like to say it's been deactivated, believe it or not, in my life. I have not had any blow-ups like that. And I bless God for that, because when you understand your life as to where you are, and you uncover and you discover what those traumas were in your life and how they were so effective at one point, you have to begin to do the work. Right. And when you do that work within your life, you're like, what is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
You really have to ask yourself, what is this going to cost me? Me telling somebody a piece of my mind. At the end of the day, right? I say God used me in now I am very bold. I am very, straightforward, but not nasty. I thank God for grabbing a hold of my heart, grabbing a hold of my dialect, grabbing a hold of my mind, grabbing a hold of who I am, that I don't operate in that. So again, like I said, mature audiences only, that prayerfully, as we are being transparent, especially myself in this moment, that you don't hold it against me. Because sometimes that's another thing, that people don't want to share pieces of their story, as to, oh man, guess what? I was a cheater. I was a liar. I smoked. I smoked marijuana. I did this. Be like, what? They bring it into your now as if you about to go and spark up a joint.
Right. But you have to understand that
part of your story.
There are even certain things that you will go through, certain experiences you will have. It may not necessarily have anything to do with you.
I know
it's
that's
to help bring somebody else out, to help deliver somebody else. So you can't discount any experiences that you've had, good, bad, or indifferent, because at the end of the day, as believers, we understand that, in God, he still can get the glory out of your life with whatever you have gone through. So, okay, you are a hothead. He can take that, use that boldness, and turn it around now for something good.
Glory.
Whew,
yes. And I am so thankful. I just got to stop in that moment, because I have to give God glory for that, because there are some times that you're so in it that you don't even, you're like red, like bull. But when you come out in the peace of God that surpasses the understanding, that you don't even understand where the transition took place. Do you understand what I'm saying? Where God takes certain things, and when he says, I use it for good, where we really talk about that scripture. And it's not just being in God. It could be when you're out of God and transitioning into him. He said, I take every area, every part of your life, and I use it for the good, because there is a purpose in good and bad. There is a purpose in any and everything that you have experienced in your life. And that's why I thank God for when he allowed me to birth the book, Life Lessons of an Overcomer. There was a time I'm like, man, I've never been through anything. I'm being very, very serious. And if you have my book already, I said at the very beginning in the introduction, I said, I didn't go through anything, because I, in my mind, thought, well, I was never homeless. I never, was, what I'm saying? That hardcore in our mindset that we look and give degrees to things. God said, wait a minute, don't discredit or discount anything that I brought you through, whether it was something within your mind that you thought about yourself, right? No matter what it was that you have gone through in your life, if you felt rejected, that is a piece of your story and what you have come through. And I allow you to overcome everything. So when I look now back at my life and I see, yes, how I operated in these areas, I say the grace of God was keeping me back then when I didn't even know him.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Girl, I have to put this out here. And if we go over a little bit, I pray that it's all right for our viewers out there. Is this blessing y'all? Let me see y'all in the chat. Who's being blessed by this heart-to-heart, open, transparent conversation between two good old girlfriends? A whole nother thing right there. I want to say something before I go into the next thing. Even now, the world will try to distort relationships where you can have two friends, whether they're females or males. Like, what did they do with this whole Michael B. Jordan and
Jonathan
Majors? I forgot. If I'm saying his name right.
Jonathan.
You know, where now they want to put all that. Why can't people just be friends? I put a post today. I said, the world will paint a picture using the wrong colors. And I hope everybody got it.
Yeah.
You understand? You can't say, oh, yeah, that's my girlfriend. That's your girlfriend. Like how?
Right. Like it has to be that like how now? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. You're right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's just like they want to come and taint everything the world wants to taint. But if we are, I think about even Jonathan and David. Right. Now, people trying to taint that relationship. No, they were loving to each other.
Right.
They were, I mean, this world had it so messed up.
Right. It's so distorted that when people are coming from a place of honesty and, you know, true agape love, that the world is so jacked up that they're not used to it. So it's foreign. So because it's foreign, they distort it, they twist it, and they have to make it acceptable to them. So that's how they can digest it, which that's not the way it was intended for it to be.
Yes, absolutely. And I pray, you know, and I say this, you know, to my kids as well. And you being an educator, I'm for sure you have heard from so many different platforms and sitting in different meetings and seeing different, you know, policies and stuff like that. Even to hear, you know, kids can go by whatever they want. Like, what do you want to be today? Yeah. You want to be a dog?
Yeah.
You want to be a cat? Yes. You want to be this? You know, introducing certain things, teachings sexually.
Yeah.
Oh, you're attracted to this one. And they may not be attracted to that. But now you're just putting it all out there that it has to be this gender based with everything.
Yeah. And you have to accept it. Because being in the education world, if you don't accept it, then, you know, you're in trouble. And, you know, it's real. So it's kind of like you're there if this is what they want to be called today, you know, down to they can change the records. That's what you have to call them.
Wait, say that one more time.
Like you have to even so records. Yeah, like they can change their name and this is what I want to be called. They change the record. You have to call them what they want to be called.
Yeah, I see that now with the pronouns, right? They have that on the applications or any type of forms, right? What's your pronoun?
Right.
And yeah, somebody say it's praying time. It is, and it has been, and it will always be that type of time because where we are now, and like I said, we're raising the next generation. And they will be raising the next generation. So we have to continue. And as frustrating, because trust me, as frustrating as it can be, we have to remain on guard, but we have to stand in love, continuously speaking forth, God, because what the enemy is doing in this time is to almost get us frustrated with that. Almost, we talk about godly indignation, but this generation don't understand godly indignation. You follow where I'm going? So now it's to turn them away from God, because it's like, oh man, y'all don't understand this, or you don't know. You have to come to a point of understanding what's taking place, not to be caught off guard or to be even disgusted to a certain degree. Yeah, we're disgusted by it, but how we are presenting it, speaking about it, in a sense, we got to win over this generation.
Yes.
Because they're not necessarily looking to do quote unquote church and Christianity and believing as we are.
Right. And at the same time, they're going to pick up if you're not genuine, if you're not doing it in love.
Girls.
Now, if you're supportive and and a lot of times they just want to be heard. They want to a voice. They have questions. But if they come to you and you already have the defense up, then they're not. They understand. Even working in the schools, they know who they can talk to, who they can go to support, and who they're not even going to deal with. They tell us all the time. And it's the same thing, now on the flip side, I still do deal with the youth in the schools, and also being a central office administrator, dealing with the adults now. It's the same thing with the adults. They need an outlet. They need to be heard. And if they don't feel that, okay, you're going to support them or that you're going to hear them out, they're not going to come.
Yeah.
So, you have to do everything with love and kindness. And, there may be difficult conversations to be had, but love has to be the foundation. It has to be the root in any relationship, or it's not going to work. You even think about, as a believer, the very foundation of, saying your belief was based in love. Okay, this is Easter, the resurrection season. Christ didn't do anything. He took on all that we did. He was of no sin. He took on everything that the world did to reconcile us back to the Father. And he didn't do anything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he had to be the perfect and ultimate sacrifice, having done nothing. You know what I'm saying? The first time, God turned his back on him was when he took on our sins to save the world. So, there was a level of love that, he had to show, you know what I'm saying? If it hadn't been for the level of love that he has shown, where would we have been?
Absolutely.
He had to go through that. And understanding, he understood his assignment and he understood everything he had to go through. And he still was willing to do it for us.
Absolutely.
Now that's love.
Absolutely. And I think we have to know what that love is. You know what I'm saying? Because we accept that love, but how do we give that love?
Yep.
Right? We accepted everything that you just said. We know. Right? We know it, but how do now we give it? And that's where we have to become exercisers of that. Giving out the love. Whenever we're speaking, whenever we're taking action, putting forth that type of love. And we know the love chapter, right? We talk about it all the time. In 1 Corinthians, it holds no record of wrong. That's like even with friendships. You don't hold that record of wrong. There have been times, there are very few, and people will say that's not healthy, but there have been very few disagreements that we have had. And it doesn't mean that we've been yes people to each other. No. Because at the end of the day, I think the maturity part of it, even though there may have been a disagreement, it wasn't looked at as a disagreement. That's why I say it.
Right.
Very few.
I'm just like, whatever.
Because we're doing it so much in love that it's not like, man, what you just do? What you just say?
Right.
This is not what I signed up for. No. And I think, again, that's how our relationship have evolved throughout the years. There is so much that I want to talk about tonight. Give me a couple of more minutes. But I think, again, when you talk about friendships as well, like right now with the two of us, we have families. Yeah. You have a husband, I have a husband. You have your children, I have my children. We don't talk on the phone every day.
No.
There are sometimes we don't talk for weeks, and we'll just shoot each other messages. What's going on? We say, "What's good?"
Right. Like, when you do that.
Or
be like, pencil me in your schedule for a conversation when you're free.
Listen, okay. You had your slacking days, and I went
Absolutely.
With it.
You're right.
I'm just messing. But no, one thing I like to say in friendships and relationships, especially over time when you evolve. Like, our families are families.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, look what branched out just from this friendship.
Right.
Like, our husbands are good friends.
Yes.
It's not like, oh yeah, it's just me and Reese. No, our husbands will commune with each other outside of us.
Right.
Our children call each other outside of us. You know, so when you talk about having a healthy relationship, it extends. You think about, again, when the tree is good, there's going to be fruit that comes from that. So I think about this relationship, this friendship, it's being a good relationship, a good friendship, because it has branched out.
Right. True.
Right.
Absolutely true.
And so I am so blessed to have you as a friend and as a sister. Now, I want to tackle this because I think that it has gone with, you know, people have gone on saying this throughout the generations. You know, if you're married, you really shouldn't have single, friends. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't agree with that. I believe that if you are married, and again, we'll further discuss with the maturity aspect of it, but I just want to keep it at the basis real quick before I build on it. That if you are married, I don't see an issue of having friends that are single if they have the mindset of understanding and the respect, right, of your relationship. Why do I say that? We're going on 30 years of friendship. I was married. How many years are you married, Reese? 16?
Yes, 16.
She just had an anniversary on the 31st of March, 16 years. And I'll be going on 19 years in September. Do the math. There was a couple of years in there that I was married and Sherriese was not. But our relationship has always evolved. And I went with how we branched out. So our friendship, even when it was, in a sense, if one want to look at uneven, me being married, her not being married, but our relationship branched out, that our families really are intact one with another. Not with too much detail, Reese, but there was a period in my life that my husband and I went through something. Yes. I didn't share it with anybody.
Right.
But Sherriese. She wasn't married. Somebody will say, you don't share with your marital issues with your single friend. But I knew that I wasn't going to her, quote unquote, just as a single woman. I understood her position in God and who she was, her maturity and her discernment, that there was not going to be any bias, right, because of who I was to her or who she was to me. Trust me, she corrected me when I was wrong. And did I like it? Absolutely not. But she was the voice of God for me in those moments. Had I took the words that were spoken from others, you got to be careful. She's single. But I understood. This is why no two relationships are the same.
Absolutely.
You can have a manual. You can say, hey, go by this, that, and the other. You got to make sure you have this, that, and the other in your relationship, that. But no relationship is the same. So what I'm saying out there to those of you who may have found yourself to be friendly and looking for a friend, or some people say I'm not taking any more friend requests, but nevertheless, you have to be in tune, because it's about maturity.
Yes.
You're not going to dump anything on someone who's not in a place to handle what it is that you're going through in your life, whether that person is married or not. Right.
Because it could have been somebody married who had been through the same similar situation, and just like,
they'd be like,
they were not healed or delivered from their situation, and now they're putting their feelings and emotions on what they went through onto you. Yep. And that would have created a shipwreck. I understood that there was a purpose. You know what I'm saying? I understood what God was saying to me. And at the same time, I understood what the enemy was trying to do. So I knew my position was very clear because there was nothing you wanted to hear from anybody at that point.
Nobody.
So I had to be very,
That Peter was rising up.
Exactly. And I had to say exactly what God was saying, when he was saying it and how he was saying it, because I knew that even at those times, it could have meant a matter of life and death. And, so I could not interfere. It wasn't just about our friendship. It was a greater, you know what I'm saying? Ministry was involved. You know what I'm saying? Lives were involved. There were other things involved. So sometimes, for the greater good, you have to step outside of who you are, you know what I'm saying, to do what God is leading you to do.
Amen. Step outside of yourself. When we are in God, we also not only have to see through his lenses, but we have to speak the words through the mouth, that he has given us. And that's the spiritual, part of all the things that we go through in life, especially when we have transitioned from death to life. We're no longer our own. We are being led by the Spirit of Christ prayerfully, right? Led, guided, instructed by the Spirit of Christ, and he will lead us, into blessed places. And so that's one thing I realized, to say nothing in my life is in vain.
No.
Nothing that I've experienced in life is in vain. No encounters that I've had in life are in vain. And my friendship, Reese, with you is not in vain. I value you, and I am so grateful that you took out of your busy schedule. You always talk about me, right? You like my shirt?
Jamaica's finest.
I have to say this real quick before we end. So when Reese and I met, I was Jamaican. She thought I was Jamaican. And so I was like, well, why do you think that? I mean, I knew all of the dance hall songs, Jamaican. I mean,
verbatim.
Verbatim.
You knew them word by word. I'm like, I think this girl really Jamaican. And I was the one half Jamaican, and she knew the words better than me.
So I wore this shirt for her because actually, I'm going to say you're Jamaican. Yeah, man, Jamaica. And so I said, man, I do. I loved reggae, I love to dance, all of that stuff, go out, have a good time. But so I'll wash it and ship it to you.
Yeah, in memory of Buju. Exactly. See, you're doing that. Me and you must never part. See.
I told you I was going to wear my plaits today, but I said, when you didn't have yours, I said, I'm going to just take them out.
Don't do that. Silly.
Sister, Sister. Sister. All right. We are bringing y'all so in. When I say we are just genuine folk, we have fun.
Yeah.
We would not be who we are if we did not laugh at one particular moment, right? Okay. I'm surprised that we didn't go a little further into the joke.
Yeah, we were behaving.
We have jokes for days. Our girls tell us all the time, like, where do y'all get this stuff from?
Yeah, so quick.
Y'all so quick with it. But I pray that you all were blessed tonight. Again, Sherriese, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with when it comes to friendship, when it comes to relationship, when it comes to parenting, whatever? Is there any words of wisdom that you would like to provide everyone?
I would, this was definitely a blessing for me. I would just say, be vulnerable, be transparent. There are certain conversations that need to be had. Life is short. We're not promised the next second. So I would say with the time you have, if there are any relationships, any situations that you need to get right, that need to be reconciled, that need to be restored, do it now, because tomorrow is not promised for any of us. And now is the time, understanding that people have different experiences, people have triggers, but can you give up your right to be right, to restore a relationship? There's someone out there that you need to get right with. There's somebody that you miss talking to, you miss texting. Don't let this moment pass. I know we laugh, we joke, we have fun on today, but in all seriousness, the purpose of this was to just, speak heart to heart about relationships. And, if that can help restore a relationship, I'm blessed for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all see why I love her? She is filled with so much wisdom. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I do. I really, really do. Please do me a favor. Subscribe if you have not already subscribed. Share this video if it has truly been a blessing to you. Share it with others, because I believe that, friendship is something that we all need in our life. No one can be an island by themselves.
Right. Okay.
You're going to need some help. The word of God even tells us, it is better to have someone else with you. It is. It really, really is. So please subscribe to the channel, share this video, and meet us back on April the 19th. I'm going to have my honey with me. He's going to be speaking with me. Oh my goodness. I don't know how we're going to do it. If we're going to sit side by side, if he's going to be somewhere else, because we too joke, but he is a man that is filled with so much wisdom, and we're just going to be talking about relationships in a continuation. So please join us back here on April the 19th at 7 p.m. Same space, same time. Please subscribe, get the notifications so that you do not miss this. And next time, bring somebody right along with you. All right. So you all have a blessed evening. Again, thank you, and share. Stay tuned for our announcements. God bless you all.
God bless you. Good night.
Yes, God bless everyone that's out there. I'm trying to see if there was any names out there, but I only see Facebook users. I would love to be able to acknowledge you, but God bless you. Here we go.